I'm Billy.
We're the Fuji Guys.
Fuji Guys.
And this little quick photo tip video is on flash photography. And Billy, we live in Canada here. Some people might be watching this in other areas of the world, but we do a lot of indoor photography, especially in winter because it's so cold here. So, knowing some tricks about using your flash can really come in handy and also really basically make you get a lot better pictures overall. So, let's first talk about the equipment on most compact digital cameras. What are some of the tips and tricks and settings about the flash that in most cases is built right into the camera here?
Well, first tip, when you first buy that camera, the camera's flash system is going to most likely be set to the automatic flash mode.
Which means?
When the light goes down, it automatically knows that and it fires the flash.
Okay.
Now there are certain situations, however, that the camera may not fire the flash, and we can explain how you can enable, the flash to go off anyways.
Okay, so now I've got my automatic camera. I turn it on right out of the box. When I need a flash, it's probably going to go off. When I don't need a flash, it's probably not going to go off.
That's correct.
So what are the situations that are going to fool that camera that's going to make it either the flash not go off when I really need it, or conversely, it will go off when I don't want it to. So tell me.
One of the biggest situations you'll find is it's backlit. So basically, you're standing in front of anything, whether it's at the beach, and the sun's behind your back. What's going to happen is the camera, when you aim it up to the subject, it's not going to know that the subject is even there, and it might not even know that the subject's face is in a shadow. And so because it's very bright because of the sun, and the camera set to the automatic mode, the flash is going to say, well, hey, I have enough light, I don't need the flash.
Right. And in the same example, kind of, and it happens a lot to people, they might be in their living room or something, and the living room's got a nice big window in there, and there's nice light coming through that window, and there's subject standing in front.
That's right.
When they point their camera at that window, the window fools the camera because of all that light coming in the window. They take the picture, the flash doesn't go off, they didn't even realize the flash didn't go off, and they keep wondering why all they see is a silhouette. So
now it's a cool effect. I mean, if that's what you're going for.
Sometimes, but most times what people should be doing, either in this backlit outdoor situation or backlit indoor situation, is, I guess, use a different setting on the flash, the fill-in flash, or the force flash setting. Okay.
And that's usually indicated on most camera with a lightning symbol. So when you see the lightning symbol, it means the flash is going to fly on all the time.
Yeah. So on your command, basically.
On your command, exactly. Other tips would be, make sure, with compact cameras, the size of these flash are not very large, and so keep in mind the range in which you're taking a flash photography picture. So if your subject is close enough, and the camera will state, this camera flash is strong enough up to about 10 feet.
Yeah.
Anything further than that, if the subject's further than that, the flash is not going to be able to reach that subject and bounce back so that the camera can capture that light, and so your subject's going to end up being dark.
Yeah.
So keep in mind that with flash photography, keep the camera in range.
Within its range, and they all have their limits. Different cameras have different limits. Depending if you change the ISO in the camera, that limit changes with the ISO changing. Another thing that changes as far as the flash distance is whether or not you're shooting the picture in wide angle or on the telephoto setting, and that's something that people, when they have a camera with a zoom lens, they always want to zoom in on that subject and get the closest picture with the flash, but they don't realize that when the camera's on that telephoto setting, it's not letting in nearly as much light, so it doesn't have the capability of producing a well-exposed picture as much as if you had the wide angle. So I guess the tip would be there, rather than zooming in on your subject when you're taking a flash picture, you might want to get closer yourself to them with the camera and use a wider setting on the lens. You'll have a better chance of a well-exposed picture.
That's a great tip. And of course, sometimes when you can't get that, there's other ways of going around that. On some cameras, you have the ability to change the ISO or sensitivity of the camera, and by bumping that higher, it actually helps to increase the flash effective range. So, if your camera was good to 10 feet, bumping it from 400 ISO to 800 ISO may give you a couple more feet more,
That's right.
more in terms of brightness, and getting that background to be better lit.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about a couple things that happen with flash. One of the most common things that people feel that ruins their pictures is when they get that red eye. And many of you know out there, and we know that what happens when you go into a darker room, your pupils shrink, they expand to let more light in, and then when that flash on a camera that has a built-in flash that's so close to the lens, it literally bounces off your eyes, lights up the blood vessels, and when you get this picture, you've got these red eyes. So I know there's a few ways you can kind of reduce that and even eliminate it. Why don't you go through and tell us and give us some tips on that?
Okay, Greg, just right on the hardware itself, in most cameras there's actually a red eye reduction flash mode. So basically what it does, it fires multiple flashes so that it actually makes the pupil shrink a little, so that you reduce the amount of the camera capturing that blood vessel that's being reacting to the light that gets in.
I've been around the block a few times, and that doesn't work so good. I'm going to tell you. I mean, I know they call it red eye reduction flash, and sometimes there's a couple things. A, it doesn't work so good, and B, it fools people sometimes. They think the picture's already been taken already. So is there any more advanced technology that's better than relying on those?
With some Fuji cameras that we have, there's actually a built-in red eye removal feature that, based on face detection technology,
that's more like
it determines faces in the scene. The flash fires normally, and when it detects the subject, it then looks at the eyes, and if it sees any redness in the eyes, it automatically eliminates it. So it does it on the spot with a push of a button, no editing required on the computer or anything like that, and it's just a great system because it's based on face detection. It's not going to take out any other red things like red beads or stuff like that. So.
Okay, cool. And then the last thing on red eye, I guess if your camera doesn't reduce it, you can always do it in your computer. So don't think that your picture's completely ruined just because the flash gave you red eye. It's very, very easy with most software programs to simply remove that red eye after the fact. Okay.
Okay. Now
talk about just where the camera's positioned on the flash relative to where the lens is, and what the rule of thumb is for that.
Okay, Greg, quickly with the flash. You know, if you're taking a vertical shot, you know, when the shot and the flash is below the lens, what you actually end up with sometimes is shadow happening onto the back of the on the subject. So to avoid that, always try to keep the flash above the lens. So when you're taking a shot, that's one tip. Another tip is, of course, the flash is most effective when your finger is off of the flash.
Really? There's a hell of it. You know, it's as much as we're fooling around about this tip, I'm going to tell you that most people, when they complain about their pictures being dark, digital cameras in many cases are very compact cameras, and it's very common even for the most experienced photographers to cover up a part or all of that flash with their finger. So keep your finger off that flash. Anyways, I think we're going to show you a couple quick pictures now just to show you some of our kind of best practices when using flash. So let's have a look at those right now, Billy.
Let's take a look at those. Sure. Here's a typical example of a backlit situation at the beach. As you can see, the camera is set to the automatic flash mode, and like always, the flash doesn't fire because the scene is bright enough. You can see the subject's underexposed, so I recommend you forcing the flash, and again, make sure that you're within distance, otherwise the subject won't be properly exposed with the flash. Now make sure your fingers are not covered as well, because you get low shadows on the subject, like this example here. And just make sure that you orient the flash properly. If the flash is below, like this diagram, you'll see that you'll create shadows. And again, properly positioned with the flash, you'll see that shadows disappear.
And those were great. Awesome. So hope you learned a few tips on flash photography here. Until next time, I'm Greg.
And I'm Billy.
We're the Fuji Guys.
You guys.